Anna and Derek's secret love affair began as a quiet escape, but it quickly spiraled into a deadly plot that would end with Mark Davis's brutal murder. What seemed like a perfect marriage soon shattered into lies, obsession, and betrayal, leaving a trail of blood and shattered lives. Anna and Mark Davis were the kind of couple people admired from afar. Living in a picturesque neighborhood filled with tree lined streets and neatly manicured lawns, they seemed to have it all. Mark was a talented architect who had worked hard to provide a comfortable life for his wife. Anna, known for her radiant smile and welcoming demeanor, was the quintessential hostess, always at the center of community events. Together, they appeared to embody stability and happiness, the kind of life that seemed untouched by hardship. For years, their lives followed a steady rhythm. Mark's career flourished, and Anna maintained their home with meticulous care. She spent her days tending to their garden, volunteering at local charities, and organizing book clubs with her friends. To anyone looking in from the outside, theirs was a perfect partnership built on trust and love. They were the golden couple at every neighborhood gathering, the first to offer help when someone was in need, and the last to leave a party as they basked in the admiration of others. Yet, the reality behind the cheerful facade was far more complex. Beneath the surface, Anna had started to feel restless. The spark that once defined their relationship seemed to have faded. Mark, ever dedicated to his work, often brought his stress home, spending long nights hunched over blueprints instead of sitting at the dinner table with his wife. While Anna adored the life Mark had built for them, she couldn't ignore the nagging sense of emptiness that crept in during her quiet moments. Over time, the signs of strain became more apparent. Anna started withdrawing from the activities she once enjoyed, spending more time alone in their sprawling house. Friends noticed her absence at events she would usually organize, chalking it up to the natural ebb and flow of life. Mark, engrossed in his demanding projects, failed to see the changes in his wife's demeanor. He believed their relationship was simply going through a phase, one they would navigate like any other challenge they had faced together. Despite Mark's best intentions, his absence from their emotional life left Anna feeling isolated. She found herself reminiscing about her younger days when life felt spontaneous and full of adventure. Those memories sparked a longing for something she couldn't quite articulate, a desire for excitement, passion, and freedom from the routine that now defined her existence. It was during this vulnerable period that Anna reconnected with an old college acquaintance, Derek Hayes. Their encounter seemed innocent at first, a casual conversation on social media that rekindled memories of a different time. Derek was charismatic and bold, the polar opposite of Mark's steady and reliable nature. What started as lighthearted messages quickly evolved into deeper conversations. For the first time in years, Anna felt truly seen and heard. The perfect life she had spent over a decade building began to feel more like a gilded cage. What Anna didn't realize was that the choices she was making to escape her dissatisfaction would lead her down a path of betrayal, obsession, and devastating consequences. Anna's reconnection with Derek Hayes began as an unexpected spark in the monotony of her days. Their initial exchanges on social media seemed harmless, a nostalgic dive into the past. Derek, her former college boyfriend, had always been a magnetic presence in her life. Back then, his rebellious nature and carefree attitude had drawn Anna in, offering a stark contrast to the structured life she now shared with Mark. Though their relationship had ended years ago, Derek's charm had left an indelible mark on her memory. What started as sporadic conversations quickly became a daily ritual. Derek, now working as a traveling salesman, often regaled Anna with tales of his adventures. His life was unpredictable and thrilling, the complete opposite of the stability she had grown accustomed to. With each message, Anna found herself yearning for the excitement Derek seemed to embody. He became a reminder of the person she once was: impulsive, passionate, and unafraid to take risks. At first, Anna convinced herself that the exchanges were innocent, just two old friends catching up. But as weeks turned into months, their conversations took a more intimate turn. Derek was quick to compliment her, calling her beautiful and telling her how much he had missed her. He spoke of regrets and what-ifs, planting seeds of doubt in Anna's mind about the choices she had made in her life. She began to see him not just as a friend, but as an escape from the monotony she had come to resent. Their relationship soon moved beyond the digital realm. One afternoon, under the pretense of running errands, Anna arranged to meet Derek at a quiet coffee shop outside town. The moment they saw each other, the chemistry was undeniable. Derek's presence reignited a thrill Anna hadn't felt in years. They talked for hours, their connection deepening with each stolen glance and lingering touch. From that day forward, their affair escalated rapidly. Anna started finding excuses to leave the house, scheduling secret rendezvous whenever Mark was at work or out of town. The lies she told came easily at first, and the guilt she felt was quickly overshadowed by the exhilaration of being with Derek. She began to live a double life, carefully maintaining her image as the devoted wife while indulging in her forbidden romance. But as the affair intensified, Derek's true nature began to surface. He was possessive and demanding, constantly urging Anna to spend more time with him. He would question her loyalty if she hesitated to meet or if she seemed distracted. Derek made it clear that he didn't want to share her with anyone, least of all Mark. Anna, torn between her responsibilities as a wife and her infatuation with Derek, found herself slipping further into a web of deception. She knew she was playing a dangerous game, but the allure of Derek's passion was too strong to resist. What she didn't realize was that Derek's obsession with her would soon push them both toward an irreversible and deadly decision. Anna's affair with Derek began to spiral out of control as their secret relationship grew more intense. What had started as a thrilling escape now felt like a consuming force, threatening to upend every aspect of her carefully constructed life. She found herself increasingly anxious, constantly checking her phone and dreading the moments Mark would come home early. The lies she told to maintain the charade began to multiply, each one more elaborate than the last. Mark, meanwhile, had started to notice subtle changes in Anna's behavior. She seemed distant, distracted, and far less interested in their shared routines. At first, he attributed her mood to stress or boredom, even making an effort to spend more time at home. But when he discovered a series of unexplained withdrawals from their joint bank account, his suspicions deepened. Mark didn't confront Anna directly, opting instead to observe her more closely. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Anna knew the facade wouldn't last forever. Derek, too, was growing impatient. He wanted more than stolen moments and secret meetings. He wanted Anna to leave her husband. Derek's demands became more urgent, his tone more aggressive. He painted a picture of a future where they could be together openly, without the shadow of Mark looming over them. For Derek, Mark was an obstacle, a problem that needed to be solved. One evening, during a heated discussion at a secluded motel, Derek proposed a chilling solution. He suggested getting rid of Mark entirely, framing it as the only way for them to be free. At first, Anna was horrified by the idea. She couldn't imagine crossing such a line, but Derek's influence over her had grown stronger than she realized. He convinced her that Mark would never let her go, that he would fight for their marriage and destroy any chance Anna had at happiness. Derek's arguments preyed on Anna's fears, and slowly her resistance began to crumble. Over the following weeks, the plan took shape. Derek insisted on handling the logistics, assuring Anna that it would look like a random burglary gone wrong. He instructed her to create an alibi for the night it would happen, emphasizing the importance of appearing completely uninvolved. Anna's role was simple: ensure Mark was home alone. She hated herself for agreeing, but convinced herself there was no other way. The night of the attack was cold and quiet. Anna pretended to have errands to run, leaving Mark at home with plans to return later. As she drove away, her hands trembled on the steering wheel, and she couldn't shake the sense of dread building in her chest. Derek, dressed in dark clothing and armed with a knife, waited outside the house for Anna's signal that the coast was clear. When Derek entered the house, the plan unraveled almost immediately. Mark, sensing an intruder, confronted him. A violent struggle ensued, with furniture crashing and shouts echoing through the otherwise silent neighborhood. In the chaos, Derek stabbed Mark multiple times before fleeing the scene, leaving a trail of blood and destruction in his wake. Anna returned home hours later to find the scene exactly as Derek had described: Mark's lifeless body on the floor and signs of a forced entry. She called the police, her voice trembling as she reported a home invasion. But despite her attempt to feign innocence, the truth was already beginning to unravel. When police arrived at the Davis home, they were met with a chilling scene. Furniture was overturned, shards of glass littered the floor, and Mark Davis lay lifeless in a pool of blood. Anna, clutching the phone, sobbed uncontrollably as she recounted her version of events. She claimed to have come home from running errands to find the house in chaos and her husband murdered. At first glance, the crime scene supported her story. A shattered window and signs of forced entry pointed to a burglary gone wrong. The initial investigation focused on the possibility of an intruder. Detectives canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing neighbors and searching for witnesses. But as the forensic team meticulously combed through the scene, small inconsistencies began to emerge. The broken window, which Anna insisted was the point of entry, appeared staged. Glass shards were scattered outside the house, not inside, suggesting the window had been broken from the interior. Detective Harris, assigned to the case, quickly noted discrepancies in Anna's account. Her demeanor struck him as odd. Her tears seemed forced, and her answers to questions about the timeline of events were evasive. While her story painted her as a grieving wife, Harris couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Forensic evidence soon provided more leads. A bloody footprint near the back door didn't match Mark's size or pattern, indicating the presence of a third party. Investigators also found traces of blood on the window frame, suggesting the intruder may have injured themselves during the struggle. DNA analysis later confirmed the blood didn't belong to Mark or Anna. The turning point in the investigation came when detectives obtained Anna's phone records. The data revealed frequent calls and messages to a number registered to Derek Hayes. While Anna had mentioned no one named Derek in her interviews, the messages painted a starkly different picture of her life. They detailed a months-long affair, with Derek often expressing frustration over Mark's presence in Anna's life. One message in particular, sent days before the murder, caught the attention of investigators. "We have to do something. I can't live like this anymore." Armed with this information, detectives turned their attention to Derek. They located him at a motel on the outskirts of town and brought him in for questioning. Derek's demeanor was combative, and his account of the night was filled with contradictions. When confronted with the DNA evidence tying him to the scene, Derek broke down. In a rambling confession, he admitted to being in the house but insisted the murder wasn't his fault. He claimed Anna had orchestrated the plan, promising they'd be together if Mark were out of the picture. Anna's carefully constructed facade began to crumble under scrutiny. When detectives confronted her with Derek's confession and the evidence from her phone, her initial denial gave way to a fragmented story of manipulation and desperation. She claimed Derek acted on his own, twisting her words into a murderous plot she never agreed to. But the evidence, months of messages, financial support she had provided to Derek, and her carefully timed alibi painted a damning picture of her involvement. The case against Anna and Derek solidified as investigators pieced together the sequence of events. The story they uncovered was not one of a random burglary, but of a calculated plan fueled by obsession and betrayal. What Anna believed would be her escape from a stifling life had become the very trap that would lead to her downfall. The trial of Anna and Derek Hayes was a media sensation, attracting attention from across the country. The once picturesque suburban neighborhood was now a focal point of scandal and intrigue. Anna, who had been the face of charm and elegance, was now seen as a cold, calculating woman capable of orchestrating her husband's murder. Derek, who had once been the charming ex-lover, was painted as a dangerous manipulator with a growing obsession that led him down a dark path. The prosecution laid out a compelling case against both of them. They painted Anna as a woman who, dissatisfied with her predictable life, had sought to escape through an affair that turned deadly. Derek, they argued, was the weapon she used to fulfill her desire for freedom. The evidence was damning. The phone records, the messages between Anna and Derek, the forensic evidence found at the crime scene, and the bloody footprint that led directly to Derek. It all pointed to a deliberate plot to murder Mark Davis and create the perfect life for Anna and Derek. The prosecution also brought forward the chilling message sent by Anna to Derek just days before the murder. "We have to do something. I can't live like this anymore." The message made it clear that the plan was not a spur of the moment decision, but something that had been carefully thought out and executed with cold precision. Anna's defense team argued that she was a victim of Derek's manipulation, claiming she had been coerced into the plot out of fear and love for him. They painted her as someone who had been caught in the web of a dangerous man who was able to control her every move. But as the evidence mounted, the jury began to see through this narrative. Anna had been more than a passive participant. She had been an active instigator, carefully orchestrating the murder and providing financial support to Derek to help him carry out the crime. The defense also tried to emphasize Anna's grief, presenting her as a woman who had loved her husband but found herself trapped in a marriage that no longer fulfilled her. They argued that she had been under emotional distress and had acted out of desperation, not malice. But the prosecution was quick to counter, pointing out the deliberate nature of the crime. Anna had not just killed Mark in a moment of anger or frustration. She had planned it meticulously, ensuring that the murder would be executed with as little risk to herself as possible. Derek's defense was equally bleak. He admitted to his role in the murder, but he too tried to shift the blame onto Anna, claiming that she had been the mastermind behind it all. He painted himself as the victim of Anna's manipulation, a man caught in a dangerous web of lies and deceit. But his confession, along with the forensic evidence linking him to the crime scene, painted him as an accomplice who had eagerly participated in the murder of a man he had never met, all for the sake of his obsession with Anna. In the end, the jury deliberated for only a few hours before returning with their verdict. Both Anna and Derek were found guilty of first-degree murder. Anna was sentenced to 25 years in prison, while Derek received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The case left a lasting impact on the community, forever altering the perception of the once perfect Davis family. The house where Mark had been killed stood empty, a somber reminder of the lives destroyed by a web of lies and deceit. Mark's family mourned his death, devastated by the loss of a man who had worked tirelessly to provide for his family and had been betrayed by the one person he trusted most. For Anna and Derek, the life they had dreamed of together never came to pass. Instead, they were left to face the harsh consequences of their actions, a grim reminder that even the darkest secrets can never remain hidden forever.